Good morning, everyone. My name's Tommy Johnson. I'm with the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to today's Eaton Peabody's Growth Basics for Business. This is our monthly breakfast seminar series, which provides a forum to gain useful, do-it-yourself workplace solutions and insightful, actionable tips. I want to thank Eaton Peabody for allowing us to bring you this virtual event series for the entire season. I'd like to welcome you to our March installment of Growth Basics for Business. This event series is a 10-part monthly season-long series that runs from September through June 2023. Now, today's topic, growing your business through a market-focused approach, is presented by member Maile Buker, Fractional CMO with Chief Outsiders. Now, like all Chamber virtual signature events, today's presentation is free and will be recorded and made available for free replay on the Chamber's website and YouTube page. To keep up to date on all Chamber news and events, please visit our website, portlandregion.com, check out our events page, and sign up for our weekly email newsletter while you're there. Now, before we get to today's presentation, I want to remind everyone in our audience that we're using the online broadcasting platform StreamYard for all of our Chamber virtual events this year. This platform provides many improved production and interaction elements that I think you're going to be happy to see. I'd also like to remind you that if you have questions for our presenter, please type them in the YouTube chat, and they'll be relayed to our presenter at the end of the presentation, where we'll save a little bit more time for Q&A. Now, at this point, I'd like to acknowledge our presenting sponsor of Growth Basics for Business, Eaton Peabody. For the past 5 years, Eaton Peabody has been the presenting sponsor of this series, and they continue their support this season. Now I'd like to invite Marketing Director Nate Levesque to say a few words. Take it away, Nate.
Thank you, Tommy. First of all, I want to thank the Portland Chamber for doing such a great job of putting these together and providing new and engaging content month after month. I also want to thank our presenter, Maile, for joining us this morning. Lastly, whether this is your first Growth Basics or your 10th, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. For those of you that may not be familiar with our firm, we are a full-service, Maine-based law firm with nearly 50 attorneys serving Maine clients from offices in Augusta, Bangor, Ellsworth, and Portland. We assist companies of all sizes in a variety of industries, so whether you're an established financial institution or a small business taking your first steps, we can help with all of your legal needs. To learn more about the services that we provide and the industries that we serve, please visit our website, eatonpeabody.com. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn to stay up to date on legal updates and future presentations. Thank you, and back to you, Tommy.
Thanks, Nate. Great to see you as always. Now, on to today's presentation. And with us today is Maile Buker, Fractional CMO with Chief Outsiders. Maile brings her diverse brand building experience to Chief Outsiders, which is a nationwide consultancy of more than 120 chief marketing as a member of the board of directors for Creative Portland, Portland Ovations, and the Maine Lobster Marketing Collaborative. With that said, let's get on to our presentation. Take it away, Maile.
Mike. All right, let's get started. Thank you, Tommy. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to share an approach, some tools and tips to help Maine businesses grow in this post-pandemic period through a market-based framework. As head of marketing for Hannaford, I had the opportunity to support many local Maine food brands in our local program, gaining a keen understanding of the challenges they face in growing their brands. Prior to Hannaford, I headed up marketing for Eastern Mountain Sports and became acutely aware of the difficulties of growing a profitable omnichannel business and the struggle of small outdoor brands, many in Maine, getting a foothold in a very competitive market. As retailers, both of these businesses had their own brands and both were firmly B2C plays. I gained some B2B experience when I led marketing for Timberland Footwear in North America, partnering with independent footwear shops across the country, struggling to compete with e-commerce channels and department stores as market conditions rapidly evolved. So whether your business is B2B, B2C, or a hybrid, what does it mean to be a market-focused organization And why should you care? Well, let's get started. A few years back, the founders of Chief Outsiders did a study of a couple hundred CEOs in 27 different industries with the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas. And what they found is they identified that there's two types of companies. There are operationally focused companies and ones that are market focused. Operationally oriented companies focus on process, procedures, and management, and mostly look inside the four walls of their companies. We found that 55% of the companies were operationally focused, and the rest were market focused. And that's where the CEOs were mostly focused on where the company is going in the future, what's happening in the market, and what new technology or products are being developed. It was found that the first group runs great companies, while the second group does a better job of growing companies. There's probably never been a more important time than now to be market focused. As we seek to recover coming out of the pandemic, if growth is your most important business objective, you need to understand where the opportunities are. And that involves looking out the window and aligning to customer needs and market opportunities. So I want to introduce the GrowthWorks framework. Growth Gears is a step-by-step methodology with the work done in each gear informing the next. So there's three gears. There's insights, strategy, and execution. And it's not uncommon for small and medium-sized businesses to start with execution and go backwards, focusing on the tactics first. The result is what we call random acts of marketing. And you can burn through a budget pretty darn fast doing it this way, and you're not going to get the results that you want. If you start with insights first, gathering in-depth intelligence about your company, your customer, and your competition, and use that deeper level of understanding to inform a strategy, you'll make better decisions about which strategy to deploy. Only when you have the right marketing strategy for your business informed by insight, you can build a tactical plan with the highest level of efficiency. You'll be able to smartly assemble the right set of resources and track the progress that you're making with the right metrics. So I'm going to expand on each of these growth gears and provide some tools and share some examples that'll help you think about your businesses differently and get you back on the path to growth. So starts with insights. And it's not really what you think about the market that matters most. It's what your customers and your prospects think about you. And what they think about you will be driven mostly about what you can do for them. So the key is to put yourself in their shoes and avoid the common trap of believing that you already know what they think. What do they care about? And more importantly, how have their needs and their buying habits changed? Just like with customers, what matters most is not what you think of your competitors, as how they're behaving in the market and how they're changing over time that matters most. Most businesses aren't tuned into the growth strategies of their competitors, which leaves them confused and unprepared when a competitor finds a growth strategy that works extremely well, and you feel the impact of this. So whether gathering insight into your company, it's important to pay attention to whether people in the company are clear on why the company exists and what value it brings to the customer. It's not uncommon for misalignment amongst senior management teams around the value proposition, and I've seen this several times. So moving on to strategy, using the knowledge and insights gained from the first gear, from the insights gear, it's time to move on to developing the strategy itself. Now there's different growth strategies to choose from, which we'll look at shortly when we take a deeper dive. But you need to consider three different elements when deciding which is the best approach for your company. The first would be your market. Who are you going to serve? Your offerings, what's the optimal assortment of products or services, and how might you need to adjust price to adapt to changing customer behavior or competitive pressures. And then there's your positioning and messaging, which you'll need to revisit from time to time for greater clarity in a crowded marketplace, greater relevance, and why you matter. So I often frame this up in a very simple, classic go-to-market model. Where do you play, what do you sell, and how you win? So, and that brings us to the final growth gear, which is execution. And that's just making sure you've got the right resources, the right tactics in place, and the metrics to execute the strategy with the highest level of efficiency. A resource plan is not just about the budget to build the programs and promotions, but it's about the people, both internal and external, and the platforms or the tech stack that's a right fit for your business. And the tactical plan comes next. This is the part of marketing that changes the quickest, particularly in the digital age. Not too long ago, a clear objective for marketing was to be top of mind with customers. Today, that's being replaced with being found when people are looking for what you do or what you sell. You can either buy your way or optimize your way to the top of search rankings, but either way, being found is a key responsibility of marketing. Lastly, understanding and aligning on KPIs and having a platform for measuring results is critical in deciding where to invest marketing dollars. So now I'm going to share some tools and examples for each of the 3 growth gears. I'm going to start with insights. Remember, this is a focus on customers, your company, and competitors. And the first tool we're going to look at is the need for research and data analytics. So there's multiple ways to gather insights, depending on where your company is in your life cycle, what access you have to data, so on and so forth. Everything from digital analytics and analysis, your website, secondary research on your industry, SWOT analysis, understanding your customer and your competition, all of this comes into play. Your key learnings will likely inform ways in how you think about your target customer in your markets and change your trajectory. So an example would be of a tool that we've used quite a bit is SEMrush, and that's spelled SEMrush. It's an online platform that's a go-to resource for companies to track their online visibility. Now, at Chief Outsiders, we use their market trend feature to capture industry insights and benchmarking clients against their competitors, including their share of direct, referral, organic, social, and paid traffic. We look at seasonality, audience demographics, so on and so forth. It's an awesome tool. I run this analysis for a couple of B2C clients, and each time it's been a real eye-opener for them to understand their competitive online landscape and traffic generation strategies for their key competitors. So another tool that we'll look at is the buyer's journey. So let me go back just a moment. Nope. We're going to scoot ahead to the sales and marketing funnel. Other trend research that illuminates how the buyer's journey has evolved may provide additional perspective to help inform marketing strategies and tactical plans. For example, this study indicates that between 66 to 90% of a buyer's journey is in B2B businesses is complete before he or she reaches out to a salesperson. So this is consistent with what we saw previously. But this study takes it one step further by reporting that 78% of customers prefer getting to know a company through articles versus advertisements. So in B2B, and I would argue the same would be B2C for considered purchases, content marketing is quickly becoming the best way to attract and convert customers. What all of this means is that these days, marketing has a broader role in the sales funnel than ever before, simply because more and more customers are spending a lot more time researching a product or service before they want face-to-face interaction with a salesperson. So marketing must do more of the heavy lifting, and that's something that must be considered in the resource plan. So moving on to the strategy gear, again, focusing on markets, offerings, and positioning. Here's some tools that might help you identify the proper strategy for your business. And the first one would be customer mapping. This is really one of my favorites. I've used this at several companies. One that comes to mind is a New Hampshire-based footwear company that I worked for that did a complete scrub of their customer base. And during this process, they learned that they actually lost money for every boot that they sold that was sold by their number one wholesale competitor or customer in volume because of the promotional activity and the discounts extended to this particular customer. This customer also sucked up quite a bit of the marketing budget and bandwidth. And from the analysis that we did, the count was completely rejiggered, and we pulled out of most of the B tier and all of the C tier stores, focused on the A stores where our best customers shopped. It was a game changer for our profitability. So this is how it works. You'll want to plot your customers on this matrix to determine where they fall on current revenue or profitability on the y-axis and growth potential on the x-axis. So if you look at the milk quadrant in the lower left-hand corner, these customers provide the least contribution to revenue and or profits. You might consider with these customers a price increase, a reduction of service levels, delivery times, adjusting payment terms, etc., to move them to a different quadrant. The maintain quadrant in the upper left, these customers have a decent level of revenue and or profitability. So the goal should be to keep them for now. If it's working well, don't change anything. The grow quadrant in the lower right, these folks may be low in revenue or profitability, but they have room for growth. You may want to offer targeted programs for these customers in this segment or volume-based discounts to encourage them to buy more. Now, the upper right-hand corner, that would be protect and grow. Treat these customers like gold. Give them the highest levels of service, the best terms, and personalized attention. So another tool is a growth map, and that's a great way to land an effective growth strategy. This will help you determine the sources of growth, how achievable they are, and where to prioritize. You'll need to identify how much each of the quadrants contribute to the growth goal in total revenue and percentage. So lower left in the A quadrant, how much can you grow by selling current products and services to current customer types or markets? In the upper left in B, how much can you grow by selling current products and services to new customer types or markets? C quadrant in the lower right, how much can you grow by selling new products and services to current customers? And the upper right, how much can you grow by selling new products and services to new types or markets? So it's just a really great way to look at your revenue growth and profitability and carve it up. So the next step then would be to activate this to determine the rankings. What do you want to, where you want to focus on, what you want to prioritize? You'll want to prioritize to ensure that you've got a good mix of initiatives. For example, if you want to get results early, make sure you select some initiatives that have the highest impact and require the lowest set of resources. You may want to strategically select some high impact, higher resource initiatives if they also give you competitive advantage. You also need to understand if your team has the bandwidth to accomplish the tasks in the time period required. That means that some of the initiatives requiring the same people may need to be completed in sprints to get maximum benefit. So moving on, the brand house is one that I've used a lot, probably every step along my career, being client side within brand marketing, and then in my consulting role with Chief Outsiders. This is a standard. This one is really important. It pulls together insights from prior work, and it ladders up to a value proposition. It's an internal document that clearly articulates what you do, why it's relevant, the pain points that you're solving for customers, and how you're different. What are the reasons to believe, with proof points. So it provides a solid brand foundation that the leadership team can align around, super important to inform marketing strategy and plan that facilitates growth. and basically a step one before you even think about developing all of your messaging across your communication channels. So that brings us to the execution gear. If you remember, it's resources, tactics, and metrics. And got a few examples here as well. This is what a high-level B2B tactical plan might look like that identifies key initiatives by quarter and defines what marketing has to do to deliver the key performance indicators and what drives this. So on this example, the objective is to deliver attributable marketing revenue of $3 million. It leans heavily into campaigns, some of which cross over from one quarter to the next. The KPIs clearly identify what needs to deliver the objective and what are the drivers that make it happen. So, and this is where the resource plan comes into play. For example, you can see that a $1 million marketing budget is what's needed to drive $3 million in attributed marketing revenue. As a goal, you'll likely want to use a minimum of 3x ROAS, or return on marketing spend. It's fairly standard. So another example with a different objective, this one is doubling brand awareness. It's a very different approach, but you still want to quantify the KPIs and understand the drivers that support them. As before, this is a plan that can be measured, monitored, and enable internal and external teams to be accountable for the results. This next slide shows that same plan on a 12-month calendar, where you can see the initiatives laid out end to end. Some campaigns are always on or evergreen, and others are pulsed in to support product launches and then optimize. At the bottom, you'll see efficiencies and optimization, and that's been added. And that includes, as an example, onboarding of new marketing team members or agencies, contractors and such, and the activation of technology platforms. So a CRM tool. In fact, I think they've got a couple of listed here, and they've also included an automated chatbot system. More simply put, this identifies resources needed to support the plan. Adding budget for each initiative or tactic would make this plan even better. Understanding how all these tactics are sequenced and to some degree how they overlap is key. It's common to think that in linear terms for this stuff, but the reality is that they overlap and in many cases work together to achieve a desired income. And that's where strategy comes in. So let's take a look at a scorecard. This tool is a simple digital advertising scorecard where in a single view, you can look at various metrics for different digital channels such as display, paid search, and organic search. You can see that paid search or paid social and affiliate advertising are below the line because they don't tend to generate as much revenue as the other channels. But you still need to look at the spend, impressions and clicks, attributed sales, conversion rates, return on marketing investment, and pace to goal. With goals established up front and monthly reporting on a scorecard such as this, you'll be able to see how you're progressing and where you may need to adjust your spend. So if you have somebody on your marketing team responsible for digital, or if you have a contractor or agency handling this, this is the kind of reporting that you should have access to. So in summary, I hope that some of the tools and examples spark some ideas for you on how to grow your business with a strategic approach informed by insights and mapped out with a tactical plan that identifies resources and is measurable. And if you do this, you're going to avoid falling into the trap of going straight to executing random acts of marketing, otherwise known as little m. So when we think of marketing, we think about big M and we think about little m. And big M are your strategic plays. That's where you want to be spending most of your time. And that will set up the little m, or the tactics. And with this market-based approach, your business will grow more strategically, more profitably, and more efficiently. So at Chief Outsiders, the consulting firm that I work for, we help clients avoid random acts of marketing and a few other things, solving a few pain points that you see here. As Tommy mentioned up front, we have over 120 fractional CMOs across the country. We work part-time to help businesses solve their pain points and then get them back on a growth trajectory. We specialize in small to medium-sized businesses who can't afford a full-time head of marketing. So we're executives as a service, if you will. I'm the only chief outsider in Maine, and I would love to and do love helping Maine businesses flourish. So here is my contact info. If you want to grab a cup of coffee or jump on a Zoom to explore how I might help you, I'm all in. So that's the presentation for now. Tommy, any questions that we might have gotten on chat?
Yeah, Miley, great presentation, and I'm seeing some questions come through. I had a question myself that I wanted to ask you. I wrote it down because there's so many of these tools that seem great for businesses of a lot of different sizes to utilize. But understanding that some of these small business owners are busy because they are their own HR, they are their own IT, they are their own chief bottle washer and cook. How much time should a small business owner plan to allocate to utilize some of these tools and examples?
Well, I would say that spending the time up front on the insights is truly the most important piece. If the time is invested in insights to inform the right strategy, then the tactical plan, resource plan, metrics will fall into place. So as I was speaking of earlier, marketing is more and more important. There's more pressure on marketing these days than the sales team, just because of the number of people online looking for someone to solve their problems. They're looking for content, they're looking for relevance. And so marketing is doing more of the heavy lift and carrying more of the burden in today's environment, whether that's B2B or B2C. So the investment in time is worth it. Now, with marketing consultants such as myself, with chief outsiders coming on a fractional basis, we're often available for a third, a quarter, a third, or half of our time to kind of help really work with a company to put their strategy in place and the plan, and provide oversight to ensure that that plan is executed and measured appropriately.
Excellent. Looks like we have another question about the segments of their business. So the question is, how can businesses identify specific segments of their business? More specifically, how can they differentiate segments that are very similar and maybe have some significant overlap?
Okay, so the way I think about that is, so there are product or category segments, and then there are consumer segments. So I'm not exactly sure which segments you're speaking of, so I can speak to both, and then the differentiation piece. So let's talk about product and category segments. So some of the tools I shared in terms of kind of a growth strategy of current products and opportunities in new markets with new customers is a great way to organize all of that and really see where the opportunities for growth are. And I would say, when thinking about your products and service offerings and the categories, again, where do you play, what do you sell, and how do you win? Taking a good look at your competition in terms of who's competing for you, in terms of online search, who's competing for you in terms of your distribution channels and where you do business, and taking into consideration competition, and what are you really looking at? What are you really good at? How are you differentiated? What comes naturally? What is your core business, and value proposition, and get out of the commodity game where everybody else is competing, and the margins are really thin. So looking at where you can be most unique and differentiated, and picking those segments where you can truly win with the least amount of effort. On the consumer side, It's so important to understand who your target is, who your best customer is, and grow more of those because they are most compelled to purchase your product or service. So start with your own customer base and understand through surveys, both quantitative and qualitative, conversations and interviews, understanding what your best customers and contributing to top line and also bottom line profitability, and grow more of them and identify those profiles and those personas, those mindsets, those attitudes, and those behaviors to inform those segments and focus on them instead of trying to be everything to everybody. So super important in terms of consumer segmentation, products and categories optimized for growth, and looking at really what's driving your business. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. For the next question, I might ask you to roll back to the slide you had open for customer mapping with the 4 quadrants. If you can maybe toggle back to that, put that up. Because the question came more specifically about customer mapping. Is there a general rule of thumb for the audience distribution within those 4 quadrants? For example, does the protect and grow, that gold sort of box in the upper right corner, does that typically represent a larger or smaller percentage, or is that maybe dependent upon the history of the business, the success of the business? I'll let you get to the slide, and maybe it'll make more sense. I think it's right. The next one. Yeah, that one there.
Okay, so the question is, let me have a look at this. Let's see. General rule of thumb for audience distribution for the larger or smaller. I think it's really going to be, I think, dependent upon the industry and that the business that you're in terms of, the opportunity. So I would say that the key thing here is having a good mix, and I think I spoke about that. And just really make sure you're protecting those folks. You're treating them as gold, who is bringing you business, and it's a profitable business, and really make some adjustments, but with an eye on the future to grow. So I would say really looking at that 4th quadrant is where you want to spend the most diligence and understand where the opportunities and the upside is. To really expand your business in a profitable way, but making sure you're really taking care of those who are keeping the lights turned on, who have really good relationships with, and who trust your brand, and invest in your business.
So my follow-up to that might be if the protect and grow, that's the people who are your bread and butter. Maybe you put a little bit more of if you're looking at this as like a gambling prospect, you've got X number of chips, 100 chips, you might put more of your chips in on the protect and grow versus the other 3 quadrants. Oh, you're muted, Maile.
Yep. Can you hear me now? I would agree with that. I would agree with that strategy. Yes.
Excellent.
That was a good.
We have another question here. It is from Michael Sullivan. He says, "Can you review the Texas study again? Their ownership 100% inward. I guess his question is, our ownership's 100% inward, operationally focused. Could use some evidence to jumpstart a marketing effort."
Oh, absolutely. I can provide that case study. Perhaps we can do that in as we share this on YouTube, we can put that in the notes that goes into the detail and the evidence. And there's a whole actually exercise and workshop around this that we've done for clients to really help them understand if they're operationally or market focused, and how they might, what the roadmap might look like to kind of get them to more of a market orientation. So they're looking outside and really spending time to understand their customers, their competitors, and how things are changing, because things are changing. It's going to take a different, a different approach and a different strategy and tactics to compete today and to grow profitably. What's taken, what's enabled companies to get to where they are now is not going to be enough to get them to get companies to the next step, particularly in these tumultuous times where conditions are very, very challenging. But more than happy to provide the case study that provides all of the backup and kind of the exercises to kind of go through that process to provide the evidence that can help you.
Yeah, that might be a nice feature for for the follow-up email that everybody who registered for this event will receive. Being able to provide that case study with some of the proof points, I think that might be helpful for people to digest. I'm not seeing any other questions coming through. Let me just give it a second here. Let me look through the comments. I've got people over there that are asking on behalf of the chamber. If you have any other questions, please do put them in the YouTube chat. We want to make sure we take advantage of Maile's time. We have her here for the next few minutes or so. But if you don't have a question now and you want to ask it, please shoot it to the chamber at chamber@portlandregion.com, and we can get that put forward to Maile, and hopefully she can answer it in the subsequent follow-up email that we're going to send out afterwards. So not seeing anybody, let me go right to my closing remarks here, Maile. Thanks again for such a great presentation. There's a lot of content. I think that there's probably some questions that will come as a result of people going through the presentation with some of their notes. But it was a great event, and I want to thank you again. And thank you to everybody else for attending today's event and throughout this year. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, be sure to check your email for that follow-up message, which will have some links to additional resources. Another shout out to our sponsors, Eaton Peabody, for their support of the Growth Basics for Business series this entire year. We look forward to seeing you again on April 18th, when we're going to have a topic that's to be determined, but I'm guaranteeing that it'll be a great one as always. The Eaton Peabody Growth Basics for Business series is typically held on the second or third Tuesday of each month, so be sure to join us in April. So with that said, have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the start of spring.